Welcome back to the podcast, folks. Hi, Ellen.
Hi, Jayson.
Pardon my deep, sultry voice here, but I'm a little jammed up with some sickness here.
You're enjoying your deep, sultry voice.
I am. I'm like, wow, is this what it feels like to have a deep voice? It's kind of like, hey.
Your radio voice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What does Chris Voss call it? The evening DJ voice or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He does have one. Yeah.
Yeah, so what's happening? We're going to talk about people.
Yeah, just people and our questions, which are ongoing. I think I reached out to you earlier this week or last week at some point because I often do when I have questions about men.
Yeah.
You are the answer to my male questions about men.
Yeah.
And one of the questions I had recently was around this situation I keep coming across in, a good amount of couples that I've seen, mm-hmm. which is the man in the relationship having a heterosexual marriage we're talking about right now. Yeah. These are the couples I'm speaking about, where he really gets really thrown by having kids, right?
Yeah, he wanted kids. Wants a family.
Very, these are good, happy relationships, partnerships. People chose to become parents, all of that, And having kids is like you have no idea what that's going to bring up or be like. And it's a lot to navigate, right? We know that.
Yeah, big
time.
But
I was seeing this pattern in some of my male clients where they really struggle to enjoy parenting. Mm-hmm. It feels very stressful. Mm-hmm. It's kind of dysregulating. And they're like, the mom or the woman is just like, quote unquote, better at it. And this is a guy who is the things that are common about this guy is he's like a high achieving, professionally high achieving, high earning guy. Uh-huh. And
so he's ambitious driven, and actually struggles with his nervous system, like in the sense that is often feels like he's on go all the time. Yeah.
I would say like in sympathetic arousal, like tip towards the sympathetic side.
Stress, yeah.
Yeah, stress side, doesn't sleep great, wakes up early, works out, just like is on this like regimen that like never changes, right?
Yeah. I don't know anything about this guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why I come to you. And then it's just like, it's such a bummer for them as a couple and a family because he's really struggling to enjoy and participate in the family and parenting. And they have different approaches. And the mother in these situations, his wife or partner, is like really loving having kids and, is of course sleep deprived and struggling with all the things you might struggle with, but is actually really feeling good about being a family and being married. Like she's doing well with the intensity of it. And he's like, it's too much. It's too intense. And these are like intense guys who are not afraid of challenge, not afraid of pushing themselves. It's not hard for them to show up and do things that are difficult in the form of work and business. Mm-hmm. These guys can deal with a lot of
they can hold a lot of stress.
They can deal with a lot of demand. And then when it comes to little kids and babies, they're like, I can't do this. This is stressful. This isn't fun anymore. I've lost my connection with my wife. She's just focused on the kids now.
Yeah. I'm the third wheel now.
I just have to kind of get through this. Mm-hmm. And I've just seen this so much.
Yeah.
So I came to you with like, what are these guys struggling with? I have my theories, but I wanted to hear from you because I think you understand this in a way that I might not.
Yeah, and I'm really curious what you think because you have a tremendous amount of experience here.
But just like, I'm like, tell what is going on for this?
I mean, I don't know, right? That's my first answer is I have no idea because all these guys are
There's some similarities, right?
Yeah, there's some similarities
In this type of man.
And
We're generalizing here.
Yeah, totally.
Over many people we know, friends and clients and students who are fit in this kind of stereotype.
Yeah, but we see patterns.
patterns.
So I'm like curious about this pattern, you know?
Yeah. So I think a couple of things are happening. The guy, first of all, has no idea what he was getting into. And I think he had some fantasies about it, how it was going to go. And so starts to get disappointed that it's not going according to plan because he's used to being planned, predictable. I know how to do this.
Yes.
And I'm competent. Yeah. I'm high achieving. I'm smart. I know how to do all kinds of shit. And when you're dealing with a little toddler or a baby that's 3 months old, you're in the weeds, like 100%.
Yeah.
If it's your first kid, especially. And you really have no idea what the hell you're doing. And if you're in your body and you're present and you've done a lot of work on yourself and you can self-reflect, it's kind of intuitive.
What is intuitive?
Caring for a baby as a man. But if you're not in your body, you're in your head, you're in your left brain, you've kind of all that stuff, all that conditioning. Not to mention if you have 0 to 3 childhood trauma, neglect, things went down in your family where you were misattuned with, and you had complicated parents who were needy or depressed or anxious or angry or whatever, right? All that stuff is in your system still that hasn't been dealt with. And so when you get a little baby, that stuff turns on, it wakes up, I think.
Gets triggered.
Yeah, it gets triggered. You get triggered into your own 1-year-old, your own 6-month-old.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't held very well in your family of origin, it's very disorienting and chaotic and confusing on how do I deal with this crying baby? How do I deal with all the demands of my life and this crying baby? And I suck at it. And I don't know how to soothe this baby. And my wife is not paying attention to me and we're disconnected. And, you just kind of add the pile, and this kind of guy gets frustrated pretty fast.
Yes.
And it brings up all his insecurities, inadequacies. An ambitious guy, one of his core issues, as we've talked about before on this podcast, is one of his big triggers is being sensitive to criticism. I'm not doing it right, or I'm not doing it well, or I don't know how to do this. And men are so trained from being boys early on to not show that kind of weakness. You're supposed to know all the time. You're never supposed to not know. And you want to, that's status and shit with other boys and young men is you don't show any sign of incompetency. So you're posturing and you're strategizing all the time to make it look like you know what the hell you're doing. And that just can't hold up in a new family. You're just toast if you try to do any of that bullshit. So I think that's my answer to your question. That's some of what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's all landing for the, multiple people I'm thinking of here. And their partners would say, one of the partners' complaints is you're so irritable.
Yeah.
Exactly. She's you're so.
He's on edge.
He's on edge.
Yeah.
He's quick to react in a negative way or a harsh way to little kids.
Yeah.
And to her. And it's he's just not nice to be around. And then it sort of reinforces. It's she's I got it. I can do the kids. I feel patient. I feel understanding of, their, the sort of the chaos of this, that it's kind of, messy and loud and not, no one's on a schedule. And then he sort of, I think it gets reinforced that he isn't competent, that he isn't fit for this, that he can't quote unquote control it.
Yep.
And
so he begins to defer.
Yeah.
Here, you take the kid.
Yeah.
Fine. You have him. And the kid a dynamic starts to get set up where they both kind of are here, I'll handle him.
Yeah.
I'll give him the boob, or he should come with me because I know how to soothe him and you don't.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it starts to set up a dynamic that could last years.
Yeah. And I can see these two people as parents, they start to get into their camps about how to deal with the kids.
Yeah.
And this guy that we're talking about wants to be much more punitive, kind of like, well, they need to learn and they need to, and we're talking about like 2-year-olds.
Yeah.
And then the mom is like, well, wait a second. Like, I don't think they can, I think we need to be a little more spacious or
and you don't have the rapport with him to be able to treat him like that. Or baby like that. Like you got to actually build a connection first, connection before correction. Like,
yeah, like she's sort of just, I think, is more in tune with what's happening developmentally maybe, or isn't as irritable. So she just has other options.
Yeah.
And she's tired and she's holding a lot. And I'm not saying she's just like chilling, but I don't think she thinks this is all supposed to be something she's really good at all the time or have really organized. I mean, I think those, if you have little kids and you're expecting it to be something you can schedule or I don't know.
Or immediately be good at.
Or like have it be organized.
Have it go your way.
I mean, I know kids need routine. I'm all for that. But like there's this, you have to have a lot of bandwidth for things unraveling.
Yeah.
Like, it just, it trains you to be very flexible, I think, and adaptable while holding some form.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just seems like these men in particular are really struggling. And I think they love their kids. And they're not questioning having had kids. Maybe some days they are because they're like, this is all just hard. And it's just like kind of a suffer fest now. We don't sleep and I don't get connection and it's like loud and I get home from work and it's like, it's messy and loud and I can't get anything done. It's just like, it just all feels like it's hard to.
And I want to add another layer why he gets irritable and what happens in that dynamic is because he's feeling so inadequate and incompetent and he's not in touch with that at all. It doesn't occur to him that he's feeling that way, especially if he's hasn't done a lot of growth work. It comes out as you're annoying. You don't have my back. Like it comes out as kind of blame toward the wife. And then, he'll make excuses like, the reason I'm irritable is because of money stress. I'm trying to provide for us. I'm doing all these things. I'm stressed at work. Like he makes it about other things other than, wow, I am totally in the weeds. I feel so incompetent here. It's bringing up all of my insecurities. That's what would be more true. So I'm just saying he postures over that and kind of blames the external environment a lot. Like it's not his fault or... Because he doesn't want to, because again, there's shame here. There's shame about how he's not able to do it well. He's not able to be a dad well. He's not able to be a great husband. He's like, man, I thought I was good at this and now I kind of suck. But because he's not slowed down enough, he's fast, he's busy, he's not in touch with the shame. So he postures over the shame, gets defensive, has porcupine quills out. He's irritable. He's on edge. It's that's what it starts to look and feel like. And then if he does tell himself any stories, he's like, here, you take the kid, honey, because women are better at this. He goes into some kind of gender bullshit thing. Women are better at this. You have the boob or you just are more nurturing. I'm providing. You stick to your job. I'll stick to my job.
Yes.
And then it becomes this very traditional divide and conquer thing. And he tells himself a story that he can't do it. And it's because he doesn't want to learn. He doesn't want to work through the shame, feel his inadequacy and get better at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like moms have no choice. Like we might also feel inadequate or like, I don't know what I'm doing or like, how do I do this? And it's like, because especially if you're breastfeeding or, you've been the pregnant one, it just is, I think women just have to face that. I mean, not always, there's ways around it, but there's something else that came up, which was, as I was listening to you, which is because I've seen some of these men start to realize is that somewhere in here also is they're wanting and needing connection with their partner. Like it's like their relational needs are still there, of course. They've maybe never been that conscious of them. They just were getting them met because they were partnered and in relationship and there was space and time. And now that's sort of been abruptly shifted, I think they're really suffering from the lack of connection with their partner.
Yes.
And
and they want connection.
And they want it. And I think they don't know how to talk about that because I think once they do, and once it starts to, they have some permission to, say, actually, I miss you. And I miss being with you. I miss, I have things I want to share with you. I actually miss getting to tell you about myself and my day or my life or what I'm doing. It's like they didn't consciously recognize how important it was to them to have all those relational needs met. And then they aren't getting met. And they, instead of kind of inviting their partner into that, wait, you're really important to me and I'm important to you and we're important to each other. And we've got to keep staying focused on each other as we do this. Yeah. It's like they can't, it's really hard for them to know that that's going on. And I think for these guys I'm thinking about, that's been going on for all of them, that they have real relational needs that aren't getting met anymore. Yeah. And it's not that their partner doesn't want to do that. It's just sort of like, it's such a full plate. And I think that that's just a piece that,
you're right.
What I'm speaking
about? I want to add, let's talk about two different types of guys here. Let's talk about the anxious guy in this scenario and the avoidant guy.
Okay.
Just because I think that would be useful. Yeah.
Attachment wise. Okay.
So some men who are more on the avoidant spectrum in their attachment style, they withdraw under stress, they get quiet, they go to work, they get busy, they kind of become unavailable. Those men go further into work. And the division between the man, the wife, and the husband gets bigger potentially with that kind of guy because he's just like, fuck it, I can't win here. I'm just going to go disappear. That guy's, I think, more at risk for the gap between husband and wife getting larger when new kids come into the picture. The anxious guy, thank goodness, because he's going to get more upset about the marriage.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like, why are we not connected? And what's going on? And we need more time together, and we need childcare, and we need to find the time to have a date night. And he might advocate for connection directly and maybe unskillfully.
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
It's like he's angry, kind of blaming.
Right.
And I'm not important to you anymore. And
he feels like the third wheel, and then he starts to feel resentful.
And he feels angry about it.
Yeah.
Which is okay. Yeah. But then he's communicating from blame.
Yes. Yeah.
Versus something that would be more.
Well, what you were saying earlier is he starts to realize, I took for granted the relational needs I was getting met earlier. And now they're not getting met because we have a third in the family or a fourth or fifth. And gosh, it's kind of like, wait, what about me?
Yeah.
What about us?
Yeah.
And then he goes into, if he's not skillful and not aware of it, it's gonna come out kind of sloppy.
Yeah.
Toward her, blame.
Yeah.
Resentment toward the kid potentially.
Yeah.
Hey there, every week I send out an email toward the end of the week giving you a tip or a pointer on personal growth, psychology, communication, and of course, relationships. If you want to receive that, go to relationshipschool.com/newsletter and make sure you're on my list so that I can send you these emails. I think they're awesome, high quality content coming your way. Hey, if you want to up-level your life, your relationship life specifically, I want you to consider our Relationship Mastery program. It's 9 months of complete transformation where you become a better listener, a better communicator, you learn how to have secure relationships, and you get an experiential taste of that. You feel seen and supported and challenged to reach your relationship goals. And really, you become a better communicator. So many people have gone through this course now. And we have a done with you version of it now, which is amazing, where you get assigned a private relationship coach. You get to do live group coaching with me once a month and ask me anything you want. There's office hours where you get to meet with one of our coaches to nerd out on the curriculum. And the community is very strong. And these are people who care a lot about relationships, and they want to get what they want to get, which is they want to be in a relationship and not betray themselves, right? They want to get the relationship they want while being true to themselves. That's what most of us want. And this course is the path for you to get that. Here's what one of our participants in the past has said
about this course.
What I would say to people that have been listening to the podcast but aren't ready to take that final step into joining the course, the most powerful thing has been like the partner calls. The accountability is something that you're not going to get by just listening to podcasts on your own. Because I thought the same thing, like, oh, I'm getting a lot out of just listening to these podcasts, and I'm, been in therapy, I've, done this and that. To take that deeper dive and the commitment, there's something about just the financial commitment, the time and the energy that you put into it. What you put in is what you're going to get out of it. And so again, if, invest in yourself.
All right. Amazing words from one of our heartfelt students here at the Relationship School. If you want to change your life like they did, go to relationshipschool.com/relationship mastery, and we'll see you in there.
Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing up the attachment layer, because I think that does really impact how this man deals with relational stress.
Yeah.
Like they're going to either withdraw more and kind of get more distant and more shut down, or they might get kind of anxious and angry and irritable and blaming and accusatory, or advocating in a strong way without bringing like an understanding of, some compassion or knowing how to enroll. Like neither of them maybe are have a sense of how do I do this in a collaborative way with my partner? Yeah. How do I assume that actually we both want the same thing? Of course we both want to feel connected. She needs my support just as much as I need hers in terms of us being relationally connected, not just helping with the baby or the kid. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does this guy, particularly the anxious guy, if he's listening right now and he's aware, this is me, and I'm kind of making a mess, I'm not getting what I want. How do I do this more skillfully? How would you advise he approach this better?
Well, I think we just started to speak to that, which is, if he can realize I'm kind of starving for connection, for adult connection, with mutual adult connection with my partner, to imagine that probably she is too. It might look different, but that I don't think her relationship with you matters less to her. Yeah. Definitely say that. And how can you bring that, I think that vulnerability of, wow, I really miss our time. I miss having time with you to connect more deeply, more emotionally. I want to know how you're doing as a mother, how you're doing with all these changes in your life. I want us to stay connected around all that.
Yeah, great. Take an interest in her and her world instead of just coming with complaints.
Like, hey, I'm in need of something here, and I'm starting to recognize it, and it feels vulnerable to say this, or new to me to recognize this, and I also want to be in connection with you in that way. I want you to feel my care and interest in your life. Like I think when people, if we can bring it as like, we have mutual interest here in this thing, because she has a lot of demands right now, and it's really easy for the mom, the woman in this situation, to feel like, oh, here's another demand. Yeah, right. Now my guy needs all this connection time with me, and all the, she's like, and I have a baby on me all the time, and so I think that if he can come to her with, look, I want to be there for you emotionally and for your inner life and all that you're going through, like their connection is just going to infuse the whole family with more energy, more fun, they're going to enjoy it so much more if they feel like they've got a strong connection online. Yeah. That's not just about how are we going to manage all the stuff we have to manage today. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Okay, great. I love that. A couple other suggestions I would add. Yeah. That's perfect. He needs to, a lot of these kind of guys don't feel emotionally supported by other men. Their male friends are like, let's go have a beer to kind of let the steam off. Yeah. And it's not the kind of support that you need. As a man, you need to go to your male friends and say, hey, I'm kind of starving in my marriage. I feel like a third wheel, and I just would love some contact here from you guys about what I'm going through. Like, let's say he keeps pushing her away, or
she's not available. It's really important that a guy, I think in any marriage actually, kids or no kids, just has another place to, when his wife's not available, to like go to get challenge and support. That could be paid or unpaid, therapist, coach, but it also could be a men's group. It could be just a male friend. So I think that's pretty vital for new dads to have. And not just, again, and I always try to clarify, it's not to go and bitch about your life or your wife or how hard it is and have everyone collude with your victim story. It's more like, I'm in need, I'm hurting. Guys, I just could use some contact.
Yeah. And it's like,
that.
And it's like that guy needs to talk out. It's like, I need to figure out what's going on for me here. And, you know, and think about what might be going on for my partner and
keep her in
think
mind.
of like, how can I bring this back to my partner in a way that we can actually tend to it in a good way.
That's
like,
generative.
Like you need to talk that out. You might need to have that support from other men, which I think is amazing to have, and just around how to bring it back into the relationship in a way that moves things forward, moves things along. Yeah.
So another tip, more pro tip here, is for young dads to get into therapy, possibly coaching, to start working their developmental injuries from their childhood, because they're going to get activated by your child at every developmental stage that your child grows. You're just going to become a more effective father if you can be aware of your own issues that you went through when you were a kid. And if you don't have a memory, again, it's in your body. You don't have to, quote, remember, but there are certain modalities that you can start to access some of that buried trauma or neglect or just relational challenges that you had. I just think you're going to be more agile as a dad.
Yeah.
Certainly there's couples work. You can hire people like Ellen, our coaches, to start to have these conversations together as a team. Like, how do we deal with our stuff as a team? And then there's finally this story that dads tell themselves, I just think is such a tragedy, which is, I'm not good at this. I'm the man. Women should be raising the kid. And so I'll just go to my corner and make money and you raise the kids. And then guys, we have to realize, and you pointed this out a couple times today, is that when we do that, when we make that decision, it probably at times to the woman feels like, you're just sort of like delegating it to her in a way that's not considerate of, she might also have a full-time job.
Yeah.
And now you're asking her to do all the parenting. You know, it's just a lot to ask, and there's impact there if you're going to do it that way. So there's a much more considerate way. And I think if you dad can access your nurturer, you're as nurturing as a woman, you just need to turn that part of yourself on and have a care and interest in your kid and learning how to do it.
Totally.
And I'm a living example. I did this as a new dad. Yeah. And I was kind of a hard ass, like closed off guy for 3 decades of my life. Sensitive underneath, of course, but had a wall. And so if I can learn it, you can learn it. And it's in there. And Sarah Hardy now just wrote a book about it. So those are some other suggestions. I just think there's a tremendous opportunity here.
Yeah. Male nurturing is just an incredible pot of gold. I'll just say that when men are nurturing.
Yeah.
So, and it's in them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to help men find that more.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think, should we talk about what the more avoidant guy can do?
Yes.
I mean, I think is if you for the more avoidant guy here in this situation we're talking about, he might be getting complaints from his partner, right?
Yeah.
About like, hey, where are you? And I'm struggling and
you're not really helping.
Yeah. Like I need more from you.
She needs more contact.
She needs just more engagement and participation and bandwidth from you around all this. And so I'm just saying he may not be the one to notice that he's struggling.
He's probably not. Yeah.
But if you're getting complaints and that feels bad and that's having you want to retreat further, that's your signal to, I got to start kind of coming out of this shell. And the way I think one of the ways to come out of that is like, hey, look,
there's something here really stressful going on that I just want to get away from. I don't fully know what that is, but I'm struggling, and, just trying to start owning where you're at, which is, I'm struggling with how to show up and be here, and I don't know what that is. Or maybe you can start to know by talking it out or getting support, coaching, therapy, getting that looking at that yourself. What's happening for me that I'm wanting to run from this situation, or wanting to get away from it, or feeling like it's boring or exhausting or whatever you think it is.
Yeah, I can't connect with a kid.
Yeah, just like they're just a baby.
I'll wait till they get older.
Wait till they get older and they can play a game. No, there's something going on that needs your attention and you, and that if you can start to own that and acknowledge that with your partner and yourself, you can start to work with it.
Yeah.
And start to have more choices around, wait, I do want to show up. I do want to be more involved. I do want to have more of a relationship with my kids or my partner, and getting support with how to do that, But I think it really starts with just owning that, well, I'm struggling here, and I kind of want to get away, but that's not actually what I want to do, if that's true.
Totally. And one more thing is that you often remind me of is when you're saying that, like, I'm really struggling here, you want to also be like, and I can imagine there's an impact over there, given that I'm struggling, because the avoidant partner forgets about the other partner.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that you have a process and an experience and feelings over there. It's because the avoidant gets kind of self-occupied to self-protect and retreat. Yeah.
And they never had someone showing an interest in how they felt. It's like they can forget that their way of being impacts anybody because they never got feedback that their withdrawal was impactful.
Yeah.
So they that person really to say, oh, and I'm sure there's impact is again, that's a huge leap because they don't actually, no part of them knows that their withdrawal is impacting.
Yeah.
Unless their partner can say, yeah, you going away is not what I want. I actually do want you here. I value you being here. Your presence is important to me. That's very medicinal for someone who's had an avoidant background where they never got the message that their retreating that anyone even cared.
I hear you. And you're getting it right now that your retreating has an impact.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of common sense, even though it's completely not in your lexicon or your awareness. As you listen to this, it's just consider that when you retreat, there's of course an impact. There's an impact on your kid. There's an impact on your wife.
And you get to think about, is that the impact I want to have?
Yeah. Does that matter to me?
Yeah.
And I think in your heart of hearts, of course it matters to you. But in your defensiveness, you're like, phew, I got a break. Sweet. Okay, there's one more piece. And so all the other resources apply also for the avoidant partner, which is therapy, coaching, men's groups, male friends, et cetera. Self-awareness practices, journaling, all that.
All of that.
There's one more layer, before we stop, which is sex.
Oh yeah.
And in a new situation like this we're talking about, often the man comes to the woman directly, indirectly, wanting sex and feeling neglected and rejected and ignored or something, right? That's very common. And there's two types of guys here. Okay, I'm going to differentiate dudes. There's the more primitive kind of guy who hasn't done a lot of work on himself. He's going to come with a sex complaint versus an emotional connection complaint.
Right.
Like, how come we're not having sex? And, that kind of thing. And again, the woman's body is, being consumed in a way by a baby, and it's sensitive and it's changed, and there's all kinds of things to consider there. And it's start getting on board with it's going to take time to get your sex life back. And it's going to be different probably.
Yeah. It's evolving.
It's evolving. It needs to. And so that's one type of dude. And so if you're that type of dude, or you're with that type of dude, just know that that's a limited approach, unless the female partner is like, okay, yeah, you're right. Sorry. Let's try to schedule sex dates. And that is certainly one way to work with that. And then there's a guy who's slightly farther along who actually has done some personal development work and understands that there's more than sex that's going to help the relationship. And that because a lot of men claim that they can open their heart and find that emotional connection again with sex first, without foreplay. Like, that's how I get emotionally connected to you, is I have sex with you.
Yeah.
And that's again, fine, but it's just limited.
Yeah.
And you want to expand your repertoire there. And so the more developed guy can be like, right, I have other options. That's one part of my need. I have a sexual desire and a need here. But there's also, like, I miss my wife. I miss the long walks, the talks, the emotional connection. I miss feeling known in my life.
Yeah.
She probably misses feeling known in her life.
Yeah.
We have a social life. I kind of miss that. Like, what if we got together and did a couples date with someone else? And, there's other ways to find your way back to connection. And sex is one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, it's so important, because that's often a layer of all this. And it is, I appreciate you naming that and naming just the different options there, because the sex life is going to evolve and change. And as I'm listening to us talk about this, I'm like, yeah, having kids is this huge change in your life, this huge change in your partnership. It's such an opportunity to deepen.
Yeah.
And know each other better and communicate more and be more vulnerable. Like, I feel like the longer we're together, the more vulnerable I have to be. And that's a really cool opportunity. Some people are like, I just want to get back to how it used to be. And it's like, okay, that's never coming back.
Yeah. Burn that down.
So let's create a new way that's even more fulfilling, which is really more revealed, more honest, more communicative,
more collaborative.
More collaborative. Collaboration is so important through parenting. And and collaborating around your relationship. So it's just an opportunity to gain a lot of new capacities.
Yeah.
And so please, like, engage in these conversations, engage in your self-awareness and self-reflection, so you can bring real, like, material back to your relationship versus complaints or blame or just your frustrations. Like, bringing some insight and some curiosity about yourself and your partner can go a long way towards creating new, deeper, and more meaningful relationships for the whole family, and better sex. Like, it all can be benefited. And so many times people just think, oh yeah, kids just ruin relationships. I actually saw a quote about that recently from some famous person. And I was like, wow, that's so sad. That's just not, it's disruptive.
For sure.
Does it have to ruin a relationship? Hell no.
Yeah.
Does it require you to grow and develop? Absolutely. And to me, that's a win, even though not every relationship is going to grow and develop through this challenge or through this change. But it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's stop blaming kids or each other about the new developments and the new changes here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, honey. This was great.
Yeah. Thank you.